Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Real Fit Pros. It's your boy, Jonathan Loudermilk, your host with the most. And before we announce our super special guest, and by the way, this is one of the titans of our industries, I guarantee you have been impacted by this man, whether directly or indirectly. But before we do the grand reveal, I need you to do some things for me. The same thing I ask you every episode. I need you to like, I need you to subscribe. I need you to leave us a 5-star review so that we can get this out in front of more of our Fit Pro brothers and sisters so that we can help them get what they're worth in every area of their life. So with that being said, I'm going to pass the baton off to my wonderful business partner, Mark, the Fitness Ninja Zalmanov. That never gets old, by the way. I think it's like the 38th time I've said that, Mark.
Yeah, I like it every time.
Do you like how I say it? I feel like I say it pretty well. Like I'm a pretty good hype man, you know?
It's good. I'm going to start just bringing you around with me to introduce you, so I don't have to introduce myself. Thank you, John. Yeah, I'm super excited about this. You know, if you're a fitness professional, as John said, there's a damn good chance that you have been directly or indirectly influenced by our guest today. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a background. If I gave you the whole background, this was like we'd be 20 minutes in and he'd still be sitting there wondering why we brought him on. So this gentleman, he is an international business and fitness lecturer. He was a top bodybuilder for 15 years. He actually, and I didn't know this, he founded a company called Apex Fitness and created the body bug system that was used in Biggest Loser. So if you watch Biggest Loser back in the day, before, you know, it was revealed what a shit show that it was, like the body bug was, I remember that thing, you know, they talk about how many calories they burn. They'll be like, oh, I got 8,000 more calories to burn. Let me go eat my one almond and I got to go work out again. So he's the man behind that. Now here's where it gets good. He actually owned NASM, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, which is pretty much the gold standard of personal training certifications in the world. I know every gym accepts it. Every gym recommends it. Every gym that I worked at like 2 gyms, but both of them required us to have it. It was part of your requirement to stay employed. And that's where this influence really comes in. And now he's the CEO of a company called dotFit, which we'll talk about that as well. And what an impact that's making on our industry. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Neal Spruce, welcome to the show, Neal.
Well, thanks, Mark and Jonathan. Great intro. I always feel better about myself after someone says all that. So I go, God, did I do that? Did I really do that? Yeah. So it was good. Thank you.
It's so true. We are honored to have you, sir. But before we dive into all the nuts and bolts, as you know, we always kick these things off with a funny story. So you've been around the block a time or two in the gym world. So what do you got for us?
Yeah, too many funny stories. 2 that always kind of come top to mind. One of them is probably a good one, probably a more appropriate than the other one, because you know some of them I'm not sure how much you can actually, you know, talk about. The funny one, the most funny, right? The most sort of bizarre, you know, ever. But I will tell you this. So back in the day, when I was still an athlete for Golds. And I was doing a grand opening of all the gyms. We're opening up Gold's gyms in New York. So we're we not Manhattan yet, though. We're in the other boroughs. We're in Brooklyn, and we're in Staten Island. So I fly out to Staten Island. The owners, and I can use their name, Pacificos. They were the owners at that time, you know. And you know, almost everybody out there back in the days in the late '80s and early '90s, they're somewhat connected, you know. So you fly out there. And they pick me up and they take me in, and we're going to, and the rule is this: if I'm going to speak in your gym and do a grand opening, you have to shut the doors. You can't let anybody work out. That way you got a captive audience, right? That was my rule, or I don't come. So of course they did this, they did all that. So I get out there and they set it all up, and they got chairs, you got 1,000 people inside the gym and everything else. It's nighttime and they shut down for 4 hours. And I'm doing my nutrition lecture, and you know, someone comes in and kind of kicks the door down and says, "Hey, I'm going to train my arms today. I got to train my arms. You can't stop me from working out today." I mean, this whole thing, right? And I'm watching the owner now. He's in the back of the room going. He's running out to take this guy out. Takes him out, literally takes him out, beats the crap out of him, you know, right there in front of 1,000 people, pulls them out, and he goes, okay, we're ready to go. Let's go. So anyway, so that was always one of my one. I just love it because they just take care of things their own way out there. That's a different. And I come from an outlaw world. I grew up in the biker world in the West Coast, but we didn't have any of that. That was a different kind of thing going on out there. So that was Gold's Gym introduced me to that kind of world as they opened up out there on the West Coast with all those great guys. It was a wonderful run. That was just part of the many incredible fitness stories we have out there.
That's phenomenal. Nothing like gym justice.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. We take care of our own. We don't call the cops. We take care of our own. That's simple. Got it.
I think that's the first beatdown story we've had. I don't think
I've got a few. It's funny because I now am getting like recollections of some of my stories that are similar to that too. Maybe I'll share one in a future episode. So appreciate you, Neal, for sparking that again. That's funny.
That's great. So Neal, let's dive in. I really want to start with the NASM stuff because, as I said before, that's one of the biggest influences in our industry, still is to this day, is that initial certification, then all the things that spawn from it. And, all these gyms kind of taking hold, because in the fitness industry, we don't have a governing agency. Anybody can call themselves a personal trainer. Anybody can get a certificate online from some weird website and call themselves a coach. And honestly, there's a lot of coaches out there who have zero certifications whatsoever, and nobody checks, nobody does anything. But NASM has really risen to the gold standard. So let's talk about how you initially got involved with them, and then what that evolution looked like as far as you taking ownership.
Yeah, so that's a great place to start, and I'll tell you why. Because it kind of plays off from what I was just talking about in the 80s. You were right. I mean, basically, a certification back in my day when I was a bodybuilder, your certification, you were the biggest guy in the room. You're the biggest guy in the room, and you get all the clients. And that wasn't, and I had made a commitment by the time I got into bodybuilding. I went from football to bodybuilding and so forth. I made a commitment to save the world through fitness, because it saved me, and it made this difference in my life where I left the outlaw life and I went on to do some pretty cool stuff thanks to fitness. Otherwise I'd be dead or in jail like everybody I grew up with. So, but what happened was this: if I'm going to save the world, I can't just do it a one-man band. So at the end of the day, I had to find a way of certifying trainers to give them credibility, and credibility beyond the biggest guy in the room, beyond the fact that you can talk a good game, beyond the fact that you're a great salesman, right? You really needed to understand the human body. You need to prove to me you understood the human body, because I didn't. I was a bodybuilder. What I was good at was lifting heavy shit, right? And I was really good at that. Right. And I love that. And that's why one of my body's tortured today, from all the stuff that we probably did incorrectly, but we did it for our sport. So for me, if I needed people to understand, what it was to be able to train someone so they could live a longer, more productive life and remain independent throughout their life, right? Instead of all the problems we have today in healthcare, where everybody's broken down by age 40, 50, 60, and their kids are carrying them around for the last 10 or 20 years of their life. How do we do that? So I bought NASM I did a license from them first. I licensed use the name, and then I built it so big, I'm gonna have to buy it. So I bought it. And I brought in two other companies, a physical therapy company, a sports performance company, and I merged everybody together. And I found Mike Clark. And Mike Clark was sort of the genius behind it, because I was not the guy. I was not the intellectual property. I'm the nutrition intellectual property, right? So I built the whole nutrition algorithms and everything else that we use today, and I do all the lectures there, but I needed someone that knew everything about human movement beyond anybody else. When I listened about all the top speakers back in the day speak, and this guy was like a baby. He was like a kid. But I go, this guy's got it. Yeah, he's got it. You can just tell this guy's freaking nailing it, right? I mean, and I go, this is the guy I want. So I just kind of merged everything that he did, and we put together a pretty amazing program with NASM, bought NASM completely out and built it into what today is the largest in the world. Now, I don't want to take anything away from ACE, ACSM, or any of the other certifications, because these were nonprofits. And don't forget, there's a problem with nonprofits. Nonprofits are like communism. It's like, it's not going to go anywhere. No one's thinking, right? I was like, I'll just sit there. I can't do anything. Okay. I can't do anything. Okay. So I bought NASM was a nonprofit. I go, are you kidding me? Let's turn this thing into a real company. And so I can blow it up. And that's what we did. And so I just brought all the other ones in, merged it, just laid out there. And we created, a pretty incredible thing because we did the live. We were the first people ever to do live stuff. We had 5 full-day live courses. No one did that. It's too expensive. But we did that because I want to hands-on. I want to see you. I want to watch you. I want to do all those things. So that's what that was all about. And then now all your other good companies now, ACE, NSCA, they all had to follow us. They had to get there. And they're all doing a great job too today. So we got some really good certifications. I'm just proud of the fact that NASM really started it all and is carrying it on today.
I love how you so nonchalantly, well, I just bought it. And
yeah. When I want something, that's what I do. I go buy it.
So I want to, yeah. So let's talk about that. I think, buying a company is kind of a big deal. What were you seeing at that time that you were like, I need this to be my thing so I can do with it what I want?
Yeah. It's because NASM was a diamond in the rough. Bob Goldman was the founder, and he is an eccentric human being. I mean, this guy, he has visions. He's now a huge part of the anti-aging culture. He's got some, really amazing guy all the way around, and he was bought it, but he never did anything with it. It just kind of sat there and he let people just kind of do stuff. So, but it was like a little diamond in the rough, just kind of waiting there. I mean, literally when I bought it, they were doing like 2 certifications every other month and 40 people because it was expensive and 5 days long. But I go, that's a diamond in the rough. I can fix that. I can figure out how to get that right because they had the right idea. They had the right idea. I just got to put the new ideas into it and make it work from a financial standpoint for clubs because they just can't afford to send people to schools. They can't afford to do all that. People can't afford that and make it affordable. So that's what it was. And then I did a deal with them and Bob was very gracious. I paid over time because I didn't have any money that much then. I mean, I had Apex, but we were doing extremely well. But I still wasn't like, I was some kind of billionaire or something, so I wasn't just like picking it up. So we did a deal over time and he let me do that. I paid over time and I took it over after about 3 or 4 years.
Nice.
But we needed it. Yeah.
I love it. So you buy the company, you got this vision. How do you start selling this vision to gyms and health clubs?
Well, that was, okay. So the beginning was I had Apex, right? And in Apex, that's the company I owned. I'm in literally 2,000 gyms between Europe and the US. And so when I walk in, everybody was just like enamored with it. The only nutrition program in the world in a gym is Apex, right? And so they're enamored with that. I go, hey, you got to get NASM certified. So I had distribution right there. Right there. I would just go in there. NASM is the new thing in the block. And we won't cut. You just come to a workshop free. We'll do a workshop and show you why it's different, why it's unique, and how you're going to get 1 million more customers and clients and all that. And they would all come and they would sign up and get certified. So that's how we built it. But then the magic was my partner. I met Mark Masteroff in 1994, after I started Apex, and he looked at all the Gold's gym that I was in because it was all part of Gold's. And Mark goes, they're selling more in personal training than anybody sells in memberships. And he goes, when we met, I go, that's because we sell the goal. We don't sell the members. We don't sell the gym. We sell the goal.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you want to do? I want to lose 30 pounds in the next, okay, here, that's what it costs. Here, push pen, pencil, sign here. And that includes your personal training model. Oh, by the way, the membership to the gym's free. That's what we sold. That's how we pretty much did it. And I mean, our pre-sales were 5,000 people before we opened doors. And there were crazy, crazy numbers. And Mark Masteroff, who's my partner today, and I pretty much owe the majority of any success I've ever had anyway to him because he was distribution. He was the business side of it. I was the altruistic side of it. Where if you're going to deliver information, it better be right, and you better be bulletproof, and you better be 100% honest about what you're doing. Because I live in the nutrition world, right? And there's so many scams out there, so much crap out there. So I had to protect that. He recognized that, but he knew how to monetize. He knew how to put that into everything. So we integrated, so it became part of the personal training model in 24-hour fitness. We merged the companies. It was his genius idea. Let's merge. So we merged Apex with the parent company of 24-hour fitness, which was Fitness Holdings back in the day. We merged it. So we were still a wholly owned subsidiary. I'm still servicing all the gyms outside the 24-hour fitness, but in 24-hour fitness, we killed it. You know, we built the model that everybody tries to emulate still today. Back then, we sold it in 2005. So the new owners have done whatever happened, but we sold it there. And when we sold it, it was $1.68 billion. And don't forget, there's no assets there. It's just the business. We sold it for almost 1.7. And it's the highest sale ever in the history of the gym business without owning properties, right? It's a business because our EBITDA was that high because of nutrition. Over a third of that sale was due to the nutrition component. Wow. So that's why Mark and I are partners to this day, and we'll always be partners to this day.
Man, that's a hell of a story right there in and of itself. Yeah. You know, I hope, again, if you're a fit pro and you're listening to that, Neal just dropped all kinds of wisdom in those like last 3-4 minutes right there. But, you know, selling the goal is something John and I talk about all the time. And I think so many coaches get wrapped up in the thing and the sessions and all this stuff instead of looking at the human being that's right in front of them and going, what is it that you want? And then figuring out how to solve that problem. Mm-hmm. So, you know, always happy to hear other people mention that and talk about that, because that is what we do. We're problem solvers for people who haven't figured it out yet. And whatever we charge for it is, you know, as long as we're exceeding the value, the perceived value from the other end, then we have a business. And obviously you were able to portray that for years and years on end.
The hard thing to do though, Mark, is to scale it into a place where we had 12,000 trainers at 2-4, right? So how do you scale that across that? So we onboarded them perfectly. We onboarded them. So this is our model and you run our play. If you want to run your play, open your own place. You run our play and we hold them accountable to the play. And that's the only way you're going to do that. And because there's that old saying, sometimes you got to get people to do the things that they don't want to do to get what they want. And so we held them accountable. This is what you got to do. This is how you deliver it and get it done. Next thing you know, they go, wow, I'm killing it as a trainer. It's because they did it. So you do have to hold them accountable to do that. And that's it. It really is about the goal. What happens is in the gym business, and you know this as well as anybody, because you've been in some of the big gym chains, is that you're just beat up by numbers. You're beat up by, you know, we got to make our goal. It's closeout. You know, we got to do this. If I hear closeout one more time, I'm going to put a bullet in your head. I can't even stand listening to that number, that thing, you know? So it's like, we got to hit our numbers. And so what they get drowned and all their altruistic reasons for being who they were or what they got into this industry for are just trounced. So, you know, you get to that point, and I was always fortunate because I lived on the other side of it, on the intellectual property. And so I'm delivering that and trying to get trainers to feel like I do. Because if you can do that, if you can get a trainer to feel like you do, where, hey, I am transferring the enthusiasm of what I do to you, and you're going to do it, you'll never be looking for a client. You'll make your numbers tenfold, you know, so you don't have to worry about all the pressures and everything else. And that kind of what happened. But otherwise, you're beat up by those pressures, and that kind of changes the way you look at the world, you know. Tough model. Gym business is a tough business with all the new stuff out there, you know.
So how do you feel, speaking of that, you know, obviously the landscape has changed tremendously over the past several years, and especially with COVID, you know, so much has gone online. So many trainers really had to have a good hard look in the mirror at what they were doing, how they were operating, realizing that they didn't have the control they thought they had, you know, working either in a gym or at their own gym. If people are being forced to shut down and they're complying with that, all of a sudden they're sitting at home going, now what do I do? So what's your perspective on the online landscape, and like, how does, you know, the quote unquote, how does the little guy compete with these huge conglomerates, or, you know, the Pelotons of the world, all that stuff, where, because John and I hear a lot, like, how do I compete with that? You know, they have this unlimited marketing budget, and here I am, you know, Joe, the local trainer, trying to find 20 clients to service.
Yeah. So here's the thing there. Without a doubt, virtual training isn't going to go away. The reason it's going through a bit of a slide right now, and we know this because obviously we had to, all of our clubs had to go to virtual training here a little while ago. It's going through a slide because people are coming back to the gym. Not all of them, and not all of them are going to come back. There's going to be a significant attrition in brick and mortar, no question about that. And you have to have a hybrid. You have to have some sort of virtual training model. Now, if you're an independent trainer and you're not working in one of these clubs where they're advertising or bringing members to you, then you've got to figure it out on your own. And you've got to figure, I mean, it's like me. I always think of myself, I go, hey, listen, what's my unique selling position? Right? So what is it that makes me different? And how do I communicate that to whoever it may be? Whether I start working in a gym and they find that out, and then I branch out and open my own place, it's because you get to mine. I mean, I was just lucky to have Gold's Gym as my platform in my life, but I did what I wanted to do. My unique selling position was not personal training, telling you what exercise, selling exercise there's a ceiling there. You can only go so far. But when I gave you what to do the other 23 hours a day after you left me, that was my unique selling position.
Right.
And that's when they fell in love with you. That's the endearing part, because that's real life. So you need to find out what your unique selling position is. And that's what you lay on, and that's where you stay on, and that's what you do. Because fitness is a commodity. Don't tell me your unique selling position isn't I'm a trainer and I will, teach you how to get in shape. Everyone says that. What is it that is different about what you do that nobody else does? And I was just fortunate enough that I was the first guy to do nutrition like that and kind of integrate it. And that became something that I could scale over time. So you do have to find that little niche right now. And there's so many ways of building your own website now and doing your own thing. And that's only going to get bigger. So if you're an independent trainer trying to figure it out, find your unique selling position, connect through social media properly. And there's all kinds of little places that can help you, get there, and kind of get your word out, get your name out there, and they can find you. So, I mean, it's about your unique selling position. And then the other thing about that is, you have to have patience. Don't just give up and go to the next thing, the next hottest thing or whatever. At some point you got to sit there and go, I'm going to dig in, I'm going to execute, I'm going to deliver on my unique selling position and try to get that out there, connect with all the people that have sort of the same self-interest or values in life that I have, connect with them to help me kind of spread the word, do that. And then, and again, evolve, of course, when the time's right. But at the same time, that's really what you kind of have to kind of put it all together that way if you're going to kind of break away from mainstream and build something that is unique and special. Because I'll tell you right now, virtual training is definitely here to stay. And listen, as much as I think Peloton's great and some of these other things are great way to get people off the couch and do some things, there is nothing like that personal one-on-one feel with a personality, with someone that's got a gift that can transfer enthusiasm and make them feel right when they have the best information in the world too, to get it done and make it holistic.
I love that.
We could end the episode on that.
You just drop the mic and here we go.
Clip it. Clip.
It's always good when I don't want to say it's validation for John and I, but like we talk about core values all the time. Like we hammer those home with our coaches. We tell them they have to get those established from the very beginning, because it makes all this decision making so much easier as you navigate the landscape. So I'm happy to hear you mention values. Otherwise, you end up with this clientele that you just hate.
That's right.
And you have people that you just do not enjoy working with. So I'm glad to hear you mention that. Man, yeah, there's so many.
That's the difference between making a living and making a difference, right? I mean, it's easy to make a living, and shame on you if you can't make a living. I don't care if you got to flip burgers. I don't care what you got to make a living, right? You go to work. You go to work every day. My kids, both my boys ended up being professional athletes. My daughter, singer. I mean, it's like they watch me get up every single morning, put my boots on, roll my sleeves up, and get out the door. And I don't care how much money you've got, how much money. When you're committed to making a difference, you just do that. And there is that whole thing. And I think that's the other part. There's just people that aren't willing to put in the time. They have ambition, but they're not willing to put in the work, and work can be fun. Work isn't hard. It's not just punching a clock. It's like, for me, okay, just so you guys know, I'll be 70 years old next year. And for me, every single day is a challenge. It's beautiful. It's wonderful because I love what I do. And I always go, and that's the part. So even my staff, I'm the first guy in, last guy out. And I go, don't look at me, guys. I want you to go home on time. I'm not being a martyr here. I'm not trying to get you to do more than you want to do. I love all you guys. I just like being here. I really like what I do, and it's making a difference. So I think that's when you finally find that, I call that the sweet spot, because you got to pay some dues to get there. That doesn't just happen overnight, right? You got to put your boots on, roll your sleeves up, and get there and stay true to your dream. And when you get there, next thing you know, you go, shit, I hope I never retire. That's the last thing in the world I ever want to do, just keep going at it. And then and the people around you, they feel that enthusiasm, that passion carries on. My kids, their work ethic is the same. I'll never, and Mark and Jonathan, I'll never be the smartest guy in any room. But let me tell you something. I'll be the hardest working guy in any frickin' room, anywhere, any place, anytime. No one will outwork me ever.
Spruce 2024, baby.
Do you see why this guy fires me up, Mark? I was like, dude, just wait till you meet Neal today. So y'all listening, I actually met Neal before he met me. So rewind, man, it's been like 4 or 5 years since it seems like yesterday. I was a fitness director at this company, Texas Family Fitness. You still work with them. And I remember you flew in, you came and spoke to all the fitness directors and the general managers and the regionals. And the speech that you gave talking about leaving legacy, man, dude, it lit a fire in me, man. That's honestly part of what you see today. And it's cool to see that kind of come full circle. And here we are jamming out on a podcast talking about similar core values. And dude, I'm just ecstatic, man. I appreciate you, Neal. I do.
That's great. I'm just glad that I was able to have that little effect on you. And legacy is a big thing. When you think about, most people think about legacy when they're old. You should be thinking about it immediately. What do you want people to think of you now, today? So work on it every day of your life. It took me a long time to kind of figure that out. I was going, well, your legacy should be who you are now, right? So am I living in what do I want people to think of me today? That's what I should be doing right now, figuring that out, being the right guy, doing the right thing around something, because I always tell people that. One of the things, and Jonathan, you'll appreciate that because, you lived in the world of corporate America here when you get these clubs and everything else. And there's too many leaders will say, I don't care. You don't have to like me. I'm not your friend. I am your boss. And they go, you know what? That's bullshit. I want you to like me. And we need to like each other. We need to care about each other. That is so important because that's who you are. That is who you are. If you care about other people, they'll care about you. And those are all the great things. That's all part of a good legacy, something, and, fairness with everybody and stuff, so you really do need to want people to be around you because you're doing the right things. You have these core values. And Mark, I'm glad you brought that up. These core values, of fairness, and just that's like number one, fair. Just really making a better decision rather than being influenced or managing data for your convenience because you're locked into some little world of conspiracy. So all you look at is that, right? I call that managing data for your convenience. So it all works out for you. But being open-minded is such an important value, and learning from others. God, I learned so much more from my kids and from you. I learned so much more from you than I can possibly learn by myself here. So that's why I make sure I stay in contact all the time, and why I'm honored to be on your show.
I love it. All right. So let's talk about what's happening now.
Yes.
So you now have a company called dotFit, which you're the CEO of. And, the notes that were sent over says it's the evolution of all of these other companies.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, where did this idea come from? And what's your vision for dotFit and where you see that going now?
Well, that's just kind of sort of like you say, it was the evolution of all the businesses from the Gold's Gym days to, Apex, 24 Hour Fitness, the personal training model with NASM. And it's just a platform. It's an evidence-based platform. So nothing goes in there without being judged by all of science to make sure that we're legit, which I wouldn't do any other way anyway. And kind of just being progressive in laying out your nutrition programming, your exercise. If exercise, most people that they're certified by so many different companies that I'm not worried about the exercise side. It's really the nutrition side that I want incorporated properly. So dotFit has done that. Sadly, the dietary supplements are so important to human beings living a longer, better life, because we don't just accidentally get the stuff we need to do that by daily eating. So that's a joke. But unfortunately, mass market, because they compete on price, they've screwed everything up. So when you buy off all these consumer channels, whether it be on the internet or Costco or CVS, they don't care what they carry. They don't know what they carry. They're just carrying stuff. It's not their fault. And half of it's crap. We already know that. The FDA has already busted everybody. And that's why scientists say you don't need to supplement, but they all supplement. They say that only because they don't want you to go to a store and buy it, because I agree, you shouldn't, So what we've done is we've actually taken that practitioner route. So ours are only distributed through practitioners, through all the people, in the clubs that get certified by us. We certify literally thousands and thousands and thousands every year so that they can deliver in a very simple format a dietary supplement solution that fits into their food programming and their exercise. No one does that. So it's in their scope of practice that way. And that's the future, because here's the future. You ready? And write this down and never forget it. The future is self-help care. Now, I said this, my first lectures 10, 12 years ago, is people do want to take care of themselves. They don't want to have to rely on big pharma. At the point, let's face it, big pharma's got their own agenda. At the same time, don't get me wrong, we can't live without certain drugs. We get that, right? But it's gone too far. I mean, they started the opioid crisis. They're driven by money and everything else. And there's all kinds of, and between the CDC and anti-vaxxers, you got all kinds of people out there that a growing distrust, if you will. I don't have a distrust, but because I know how to manage it, right? I can manage the information properly. But there are other people that do, which is helping us in many ways. And I mean this way. It's not helping us with vaccinations, because everybody should get vaccinated. No one argues. That's just a standard thing. I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is this. It's getting to the place where we need to be able to, if we can take care of ourselves, we don't have to worry about this stuff when it comes down later. Taking care of ourselves from the very beginning, no different than when the doctors, when the American Medical Association, Pediatric Association, Dietetic Association in the 1970s made it mandatory that every single female that's going to conceive needs to take a prenatal multivitamin mineral. It wiped out 35% of birth defects overnight and 55% of stillborn. So, I mean, it's just a no-brainer to be able to nutritionally take care of your body so that we can avoid the immune problems. Because the people that are compromised are the people that are overweight, they don't work out, they don't eat right. So these underlying conditions have accelerated this whole thought process about, I got to take care of myself. So we're positioned to do that. And I built this platform in 2008. That's when we started, 2009. And it's just been growing since. That's self-health care, to take care of yourself and your family. Because guess what, guys? Fitness is healthcare. The model we're in today, the model we are in today is disease care. It's after the fact. That's the model we're in. It's what we call fitness. We take care of your health while you have it. That would be caring for your health while you have it. We're not after the fact. We're before the fact. You're healthy. I will keep you healthy. Here's what you need to do. That's self-health care, and it's cheap. There's no cost compared to the cost on the other side. You can pay me a little now or a hell of a lot later. And at the end of the day, you can work with my staff now or their staff later, and that's a bad staff to work with on the other side. Because you're crippled and it's going to take you down. So fitness is true healthcare. The first line of healthcare is fitness versus the disease care we're in today. And that's really that's what my vision is for the future. And that's where we're going. And that's where certainly we're driving our companies to go. And it's obviously working. And sadly, it took COVID to get people to start going, God, that guy was right. This is what I should be. Okay. So It is my I told you so moment, even though I'm not proud of that part of it. It is just something that hopefully people will start to do. And we can change this horrible disease care after the fact. When you're sick, you go in there to get fixed. Why don't we fix it before it gets broken? I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. But anyway, you guys get it.
Yeah. So do you think that COVID is the catalyst for change? Because when you look at the obesity rates, the overweight rates, they've been 70% for a long time now in the US. The numbers seem to never change. The predictions say by 2030 that, half of the adult population of the US will be obese, not just overweight, but obese.
Right.
Is this the wake-up call? And if not, what the hell do we got to do to get people to do exactly what you just said and take some personal responsibility for themselves?
I mean, I tell you, that's Mark, at the end of the day, that's the $1 million question. And, I don't have the answer to that. Because sadly enough, and you brought up the stat about 70%, it's been kind of static there for the last 10 or 15 years, but not truly. Here's why. Here's the amazing stat that people don't know. 90% of all adults will be overweight at some point in their life. By the time they die, they're not overweight. And that's how it skews the number back down to 70 overall, just so you know. I just wanted you to know that. So, but the bottom line is, you know what? It's good. I go, what is it that's going to get you there? And when people ever ask me about, I've tried every diet, I've done everything, and I lose the weight, and then I gain it back, and I go, I get it. There's only one reason that you will take your weight off and leave it off. There's only one that will keep you that way, and that is something that motivates you to do it. It is not the diet. It is not the exercise plan. It's not Gold's Gym. It's not Orange Theory. It's not our clubs, UFC or Crunch. It's not any of that. It's not Neal Spruce's diet. It's the reason that you're going to do it. My job is to make it easier for you so the motivation threshold isn't so high, right? I don't have to hold a gun to your head. Do this, or I kill you, right? It's motivation. There has to be something in your life. And I think, to your point, Mark, and I think we could be there, COVID could be that sort of global motivation to get people to start thinking a little bit more about taking care of themselves. But the problem is, the way this misinformation is going around and you're hearing people talk about, oh, it's all phony or it's all this. The people that are overweight and don't eat well, they don't want to think it's their fault that they're getting sick. Mm-hmm. So they can fall into the other camp and manage data for their convenience. So I think that, we're certainly at a tipping point to where we can really use this event to get people to think more and change the way we look at healthcare. So we're at that point, but how we manage it from here is going to be the secret. And I don't know how to do that.
Oh, and I think you brought up a good point though, of the make it easy.
Yes.
We see coaches way overcomplicate this. It's the reason why so many diet plans or meal plans don't work, because you get somebody who's uneducated. They don't know food nutrition to begin with. They don't know what a carbohydrate is or what a fat is or what a protein is. Somebody gives them this list of food. They don't know how to cook it. They don't know how to make it taste good. They don't like half the things on there. It overwhelms them from, the very beginning. And then they just go, that's too hard.
Right.
Instead of,
True.
like you said, making it easy. Where is the path of least resistance? Are you doing nothing? Okay, go walk. Don't even change anything else. Go walk and take a sip of water every now and then. Let's start with some basics.
Perfect.
And get people moving. And I think that people underestimate, and especially fitness coaches underestimate the power of those little things just to get people started in the right direction. And then they can figure the rest out.
Right. And you're spot on. And the problem with that is the instant gratification. I always use this analogy. When you go to a beauty parlor and you spend $300 and you come out going, wow, worth every penny. I look freaking great. Right. And it took an hour. It took 3 hours. Right. You go to a gym and you work out for 6 weeks and nothing's changed. You're
really sore.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So you don't get that same instant gratification. To your point, they want that instant gratification when they finally decide to do it. And by telling them to walk a little bit, take a sip of water, all that. That's the right freaking answer. But they are impatient. They can't do it. And after about a week or two, they go, this didn't help me. And I'm going to go back to whatever I'm doing. But I'm just saying, that's the thing. We're trying to get that. I have a saying, and I've said this literally since I think my first lecture in 1980. I remember saying, my job, I looked at the whole audience. It was at Foothill College up in San Francisco, Palo Alto area. And I look up, I go, you know what my job is? My job is to get every one of you in this audience addicted to fitness. Mm. That's my job. And if I can get you addicted to fitness the way I am, you're going to hate yourself when you miss a workout. You're going to hate but you can have cheat days. You can do all those things, but you're going to be fine the next day. That's what I got to do. And that's the hard part, so when you're see what happens is when the human body gets out of shape and it puts on all that fat, the fat cells actually have brains. We didn't know this until like 20, 30 years, 20, 25 years ago. There's brains in those fat cells. They go, don't lose me because I'm going to keep you alive during famine. 4 million years as hominids, we were starved to death. So as soon as you get fat, we keep it. And we tell you to eat more. As soon as you lose it, eat more, bring me back. So you got all kinds of bad stuff going on once you gain it. It's so hard to lose. Losing is not as hard as it is keeping it off because it's going to keep screaming and screaming to take you back to that place in case you ever starve again, which is never going to happen in our society, but it would have happened those 4 million years as hominids.
Yeah, and food is so delicious. I mean,
that's the other part. You're so spot on. And that's another story. We'll save it for another podcast one day when all the top food companies in the world flew me in. All the CEOs, top food companies flew me in to find out what do we need to do so we're not the next tobacco. They were afraid of being sued for making people fat. And they had to fly me in as an expert speaker along with these Harvard professors. And I'm the non-professor, of course, that they flew in. And so we had this. This was a very quiet. We were sequestered for 5 years. We couldn't talk about it anywhere. This were the top CEOs of, you name every food company, they're all in this room. And there's little old me having to tell them, this is the only way you're going to save yourself from this. So that'll be another podcast one day.
Oh, that'd be great. I love to hear that
Awesome.
story. So again, you've been doing this for a really long time. You've literally been part of changing the landscape of fitness. So for a new coach that's listening to this and they're like, okay, I'm trying to get my business started, I'm trying to get some clients, I'm trying to figure out where I fit in all this. What are a couple of pieces of advice you would have for that new young trainer who really with good intentions wants to make a difference in this industry?
Well, would you say, if they're just coming out of it and try to start their own business, that's a different story. I wouldn't do that. I would immediately go to work at a place, at a facility that has a demographic that you would like to work with and get started there. And then I would, without a doubt, I would tell myself, I'm going to be the best trainer in this gym in 1 year. I would stay there for 1 year. I would learn everything I could about communicating with people and have a holistic solution of a training program that would be different than anybody else's. Figure out how to communicate it right. I would start there. I would use the platform of that company to get myself to a place where I was confident to either move on or stay there, end up running that and expand that company. Right? Or I would start my own if I felt comfortable doing that. But you've got to start somewhere like that and leverage the traffic, leverage the potential of people coming in there so you can get the experience that you need to be able to create a thought process. But you have to come in there with that one goal in mind. And that's one of the things I always tell people is like, you want to come in as that employee that every single person wants and every single leader loves. The employee, the person that walks in and goes, Mr. Boss, Mr. CEO, you don't owe me anything. I owe you everything for you allowing me to work here. And I am going to deliver better than anybody else. I will work harder than anybody else, and hopefully I'll be better than anybody else. And I will give you that. And thank you for the opportunity. And every single day, no matter how good they are, even when they're the best trainer in the whole freaking club, they still try to earn the starting job every day. That's the guy. That's the guy. That's the girl that's going to make it. That's the one that's going to the next level. And they're going to figure that out, whether it be the next level in that company, because they can expand because they're just dynamic, or they start their own business and they know exactly what they want. But they're willing to do all the little things every single day that will eventually add up to the big things that will make the difference in their life.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like, you can't lead if you don't know how to follow, because you don't have any examples to follow. So yeah, that's sound advice for sure.
And not only that, they lock you in. So Jonathan, the thing about that is an owner or a leader, and then the thousands and literally thousands and thousands of employees, I've tens of thousands of employees I've had. It's like, I always look for that person that goes, thank you every day for this job. And I'm working harder than everybody else because, but that employee that acts like this, without me, they'd be nothing. Or, I need more money. That person is going to die. Not in my world, because I will always compensate you for what I see and what I see there. And cream rises to the top. You don't have to sell yourself. I'll smell you out. I'll find you. So that person, that's what they got to be. They got to be that person just works harder than everybody else without pissing everybody else off, though. You'd be surprised about that. Because I'm like, don't work so hard. It makes us all look bad. You got to do that with your head down and kind of have that leader feeling. And they go, I want to be like that guy. So you'll see, it'll work. But that's what it takes. If there really is a special mentality there. So that's what I would tell them. Work harder than anybody else and be that person that's appreciative where you are. Learn it, leverage everything you can get from there, and you will see good things will happen from there.
That's it. And the reason, if you're listening, that is such great advice is something that John and I have talked about previously as well, is there's never been an easier time to separate yourself from everyone else. There's such an apathy for work. There's such a lack of work ethic across the board. So whatever industry you're in, whether it's this or anything else, it's so easy to separate yourself from the rest just by showing up and doing the damn work. And not even just, you don't have to do anything big. It's just the fundamentals of whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. Continue to learn, continue to grow, and seek those things out. Seek out people to learn from, and you'll have everything you want and then some. But it's so easy to do it right now because most people aren't willing to do, like you said, and just commit to doing the work consistently over time.
Yeah,
so I love it. Spot on.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Oh man, This has been awesome. John, before I finish off with my fun questions, is there anything that you would like to ask Neal?
Yeah, man. I think one of the things I've respected most about you, Neal, because I've used your platform on and off for a decade, all different companies I've worked at to obviously what we're doing now, is, there's two things that really stood out to me. And one of them is, your supplements, you always third and fourth party test, and that's your choice. Like, you ask most people if they're willing to legitify themselves, they're going to run away from it. Right. But you're doing the complete opposite. Like, no. We pay for our testing and we do this. And here's why we do that. So I'd like for you to share kind of that mindset behind that and what's that done for you guys. And then really talk about the whole holistic offerings that you have with supplements, because you go from athletes to more of the senior population, where you talk more about their play span in regards to that. So I'd like for you to elaborate on that with our audience. I think it'd be great.
Yeah. So quickly on the third party thing. Yeah. We are the largest third party distributor of nutrition programs and products anywhere in pro sports, college sports, and everything else. They sign up with us because there's two parts to it. You can this is a great thing you'll love, John. You can third party test anything, right? I can third party test an orange and tell you what the vitamin C in there. Is that doing what you want it to do? Yeah, maybe, or maybe not. So, but is the milligrams the right amount for what you're claiming it can do? So can you actually protect your eyes with zeaxanthin and lutein with like a minuscule amount of those ingredients, or can you protect them with the right amount that are matched in clinical trials? So you have to have two things. One, the dosages and forms are matched to clinical trials that show positive results. And then I got a third-party test to make sure my manufacturer got it in there right. Right? That's the thing. Well, no one does that. No one. Right? So because I'm in the personal training and gym business. I'm not in if I was in the supplement business, and I wouldn't ever be in that business alone because I don't believe in it by itself, and it's just too creepy. right? It's just really creepy, so we do it right. We go to a whole different place. So you've got the clinical evaluation, and then you third-party test to make sure it's in there and you're good. Otherwise, I look at some of these third-party tested supplements. They're doing it now because everybody's hearing about it. That third-party test, or you can't buy it. Well, third-party testing a supplement, like let's say a branch chain. I'm not going to name the name of these companies because I hate to do that, but these are ones that actually try to sell their supplements into the NFL and Major League Baseball and stuff like that. And they got a branch chain that's got like 3 grams of leucine. Well, that's enough for like a small rat that's dying, okay? Let alone a human being that's going to try to recover from muscle damage. And I'm sitting there going, and so my son, he made it to the NFL. His buddies, he lives with, his players, roommates and stuff. They bring over their stuff. So my agent got these supplements for him. What do you think? And I go, they're useless. Give them to your dog. It's good for a small mammal with short lifespans, but not going to work. They're third-party tested though. All that means that the ingredients on the label are in the bottle. Doesn't mean they work. And they actually say that on their sites. Doesn't mean they work. So in ours, we have to prove they work and then third-party test to make them in there. So that's the difference in the world on that part. That's the third and fourth party testing, if you will, that you brought up earlier. So that's that part there. So we live in a whole different place there all the way around. But the other part is, the holistic approach. I mean, that's really what it's all about for me, because these things are all, completely separate. You've got the exercise, you've got your nutrition component and everything else. And it really is about giving that sort of a validated, holistic approach to everyone. And I'm not sure that was the second part of your question, but the first part was the third party testing. What was that?
Yeah, it was the holistic approach and kind of how you guys really screen. And once again, it's from the athlete all the way to I'm in my 60s. Right. And
well, yeah, exactly. And especially me, the aging population, that's what I was going to catch, because I have now, making a living as an athlete, not much of a living when I was an athlete, but bodybuilders don't make a whole lot of money, but at least I was able to build the platform and go from there. But, then, watching, and of course now my sons and everything else, but that is one platform. That is not my passion has always been, just basic America, right? The average person. That has always been it, which otherwise I would have just stayed in the athletic world with it all. And now that I'm older, I am really, really concerned about how people age. So healthy aging, here's a take-home message for all of your listeners. Sports nutrition is now considered the new healthy aging. So what we do exactly for athletes to recover every day, because your next workout is only as good as your recovery from the last. Well, guess what? As an aging person, your next day is only as good as your recovery from the last. So you want to make sure that you've got everything in your body you can. That's when I talk about play span. The play span equaling your lifespan. I mean, at the end of the day, if you live to be 100, you don't, so if you live to be, if the average life of a human being is only 75, 76 years now, we went down 2 years for the first time in first time in human history, we've gone down 2 years backwards. And that's because of COVID, opioid addiction, and obesity. Those are the three reasons we've gone down in longevity. So the bottom line is, and not only that, the last 10 years before that, these people were miserable. So the goal is if we know we can live to be 100. The goal is to be able to play and do the things you love to do to 100. So what you want to do is if you live to be 100, if you've done everything that we talk about here, somewhere, most of it throughout your life, your goal is, let's say you're a golfer. I call it play span. I coined this phrase 15 years ago, maybe 20 at this point. But I go, so you want to be able to physically and cognitively do the things that you always did, that you always loved. So you're a golfer. You're 100 years old. You're right there in Monterey and Pebble Beach. You're on the 18th hole. You hit the putt. It goes into the hole, and you drop dead on the green. Perfect freaking life. Perfect.
I love it.
Let's say you're a cyclist and you used to race cycles when you're 20s and 30s. Now you're 100, but you're not going to race them anymore. But guess what? You can still walk out your house on your own into the garage, get on that bike, ride around the block, park it in your garage, drop dead on the garage floor at 100. Bingo, perfect life.
Yeah,
we can do that. We can do that. All that can be done when you have that simple formula that's so easy. Filling your nutritional gap, stay active, maintain your weight. And stay active doesn't mean you have to work out with weights. It just means stay active, right? Fill your gaps. Don't just think accidentally you're going to eat food and everything's going to be okay. That's a joke. That's arrogant or just, uninformed. There's something wrong with you. You got to fill your gaps. There's ways of doing that properly. And then bingo, really, really great things can happen. Now, I can't stop you from getting hit by a train when you're, 60, but you'll be in great shape.
Here comes a disclaimer.
When you go out.
Well, I now have a new goal of deadlifting and eating a Cadbury egg and dying at that moment. So that's
bingo. Love it. Love it. That's what I want to hear. That's it for me. I'll die in my gym, lifting my last, maybe a curl. I mean, I swear to God, you'd be so funny. My kids. Okay. So, you can only imagine my kids. So they, my wife says this, Neal, and you guys can Google me, how big I was. Your listeners. So she goes, she married me I was 270 when we got married. And so, and I go, she goes, Neal, you're half the man I married. That's what she says now, right? Okay. And my kids will be in the gym working out, and they'll be in a gym. There'll be a picture of me up on a wall somewhere, and they'll look up and they'll go, Dad, this is the way they are now. These professional athletes, kids, they're twice my size. And they look up and they go, my other kid's a fighter. So I raised a violent family. So they look up and they go, and they look up the picture and they go, Dad, you're not that big anymore, but you sure are weak. I swear to God, you don't even want to live in my house when you're no longer an athlete. But that's what I want to do. I want to just die, riding my horse, fall off, and just be able to do it though for a long time. Yeah. A long, long time. I won't do it as well as I used to. I don't care really what I look like as long as I'm independent, and I don't want to see my kids see me just as a frail old guy going away into the thing. I want to be strong to the end, and and cognitively, that's the one good thing about getting old. Physically, there's nothing good about getting old. Cognitively, that can keep getting smarter. That can keep going. That's the good news.
I love it. All right, Neal. So we've wrapped this up. I got a few fun questions for you here. When you were bodybuilding, what was your favorite food to eat after the comp was over?
Oh, surprisingly enough, I'm not a pizza guy, but when you're starving like a bodybuilder getting ready for a show, no one starves like a bodybuilder getting ready for a show. No one does. You start craving food you never even liked before. So the next thing you know, I'm thinking pizza, and then I have to have a giant burger and cheesecake. And we would go to the Cheesecake Factory. And my best man in my wedding was Billy Thunder Smith. Unfortunately, he just recently passed. I don't know if you know that, from American Gladiators. He just passed, but he was a 320-pound freak. We would we'd compete after shows. We just go to this place. We would order bowls of French fries, 3 burgers a piece, and then 4 cheesecakes. And we would sit there for about 4 hours until they threw us out, and just sick after. So that was it. That was pretty. And by the way, the last few weeks before the show happens, the last few weeks, you're writing down all the restaurants you're going to go to. Every place you're going to go.
The power of visualization right there, folks. All right. Next question. If you were pressed for time, you're going to the gym, you only got time for 2 exercises. Which 2 are you choosing?
Oh, today, back in the day, it would have been squats. Squats for sure. I was a horrible bencher, so I hated it. I had long arms and shoulders injuries. Squats and deadlift. I mean, for me, that's just, I love power. Today, curls. Just get I'm trying to get back. I'm trying to get these 10-inch arms to hold on just do a little bit left.
All right, last question. If you had a billboard that you could put a message on for everyone to see, what would be the message on the billboard?
Wow. Okay. That's kind of a tough one, I guess. I think there is something there's 2 on that. I don't want to do a nutrition message because that's too self-fulfilling, if you will. I want everybody to do the thing. I have a place span recommendation on supplementing. I wouldn't want to do that. For me, it is, it would be something about caring. I mean, and again, I alluded to earlier that, I grew up without a family, and, so you live that life of living with different families when you're young. And, trying to navigate life and stuff like that. And the reason I'm here today, and I escaped jail and death, like all my friends, all my friends are dead or in jail that I grew up with. And I escaped it because people cared about me. The people that took me in that I stayed with, there'd be something about that. There'd be something about caring for every human, regardless of who they are, what they are, and especially the underprivileged. So for me, I fight for that all the time. And if you care about people, they'll care about you. And I think that's probably the message, the way I would spell it out. If you care about everyone, everyone will care about you, rather than you caring about your freaking little private world that you protect. And if it doesn't go right, you just go crazy on it and stuff like that. You know what? There's just a way we can all work together. There is a way to get that done. And so that'll be my legacy for sure, to give the next generation a much better chance than I had. That'll be my goal.
I love it. I love it. That is fantastic. Neal, what an honor this has been, sir. We appreciate you sharing so much. We definitely got to have you back on. I mean, you already told us there's another story to be told, so that's a no-brainer. Just sincerely, just gratitude from both John and I for you coming on here. I know we're going to be working on some things on the back end with you as well with dotFit, so we're super excited about that. And John and I are in this to make a difference in this industry. I've been coaching almost 19 years now, so I'm in this thing. I ain't going anywhere. I love it. I have that same passion that I can see from you. If you're listening to this, you can't see Neal, but trust me, the passion is there. It hasn't faded. If anything, it's only gotten greater. So, thank you for coming on. Thank you for everything you've done for the fitness world in general. And we appreciate you, man.
Well, it was an honor to be here, and I did not hesitate, right, John? I didn't hesitate 1 second when you asked, and I'd be here because it is the people like you. You're in the next generation, right? You're in the next generation. You're going to take over for me. I'm not going to be here forever. So any wisdom I can pass on, I am honored to share it with you. So thank you.
Man. Thanks you so much.
Thank
John,
you.
I know you got something for the peoples.
Well, I know Neal set the bar incredibly high, but just imagine if you even achieved a fraction of it, if you just simply go out there and go get what you're worth, damn it. Yeah. Damn good episode, Neal. Damn good.
Love it.